train in the house. Woo! Looks like we've got some angels in the crowd tonight. Well, that's great, because I've got something I've got to say.
Can I ask you a question? When was the last time someone asked how you were and you actually told them the truth? Not the polite answer, not the whole like I'm fine, not that I'm getting by, but the actual truth. Because I have a feeling there are people listening to this right now who are carrying far more than anyone around them realizes. Maybe you're worried about money. Maybe you're lying awake at night wondering, how am I going to pay the bill? How am I going to get through this? Maybe you're caring for a parent or a partner or a child. That's hard. Maybe someone you love is sick. That's awful to deal with. And maybe you're living with a disability, and that's hard. Maybe you're exhausted from trying to be strong for everyone all the time. Maybe you're fighting battles so private that nobody even knows they exist. And maybe the hardest part is this: you just feel alone in it. Not physically, but inside in your heart, soulfully. You feel like you're carrying something nobody can help you carry. If that's you, I want you to stay with me just for a few minutes, please. Because this message is for you. It's not for the crowds. It's not for likes. It's not for everyone. It's a message for you. You know, one of the stories that's always fascinated me in the Bible is the story of Elijah. You know, most people remember Elijah as a prophet, right? A man of faith, a man of miracles. But they often forget what happened afterwards. After one of the greatest victories of his life, he ran, he hid, and he sat beneath a tree and he asked God to end it for him. Think about that. A man of faith, a man chosen by God, a man who had actually seen miracles with his own eyes. And yet he became so overwhelmed that he wanted to give up. Why is that story in the Bible? Because God knew there would be people like you and me. People carrying more than anyone knows. People who love deeply. People who care deeply, who try deeply. And eventually become tired deeply. And what fascinates me most is what God didn't do. God didn't lecture Elijah. God didn't shame him. God didn't tell him to have more faith. Instead, God gave rest, gave nourishment, food, water. And after he was okay, then he spoke to him. And it wasn't through an earthquake or a flood or hell or fire or damnation. It wasn't through a storm, but it was through what Scripture calls, or we call, a still small voice. And I've thought about that a lot, because suffering is noisy, isn't it? Fear is really noisy, and anxiety is noisy and gripping, and the news is noisy, and the world is noisy. And the mind can become so noisy. And when life gets difficult, it can feel as though every fearful thought grabs a microphone. What if things get worse? What if I fail? What if nothing changes? What if this doesn't end? What if I can't do this anymore? Well, after a while, we start believing the noise over anything else. But over the years, I've noticed something. I am not the noise, and neither are you. The thoughts come. The fears come, the worries come, but that's life. But there is something deeper underneath all of it, a stillness that we all carry, a presence we all carry, a quiet place within us that remains even when everything feels chaotic. And I've learned that when life gets dark, that's where I go. I've learned to go there. And I've learned to pray, not because I always get answers, not by any means. Sometimes I don't. But because prayer reminds me that I don't have to carry the whole world by myself. I've learnt to ask for help because it's okay. I've learnt to reach out because it's okay. I've learnt to let go of what I can't control. And I've learnt to take action on what I can. One step, one phone call, one conversation, one day at a time. Because sometimes we're trying to carry tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year all at once. No wonder we're exhausted. But maybe today is just enough. Just today. Just this breath. Just this moment between you and I. There's a story often I think about. Imagine a person carrying a backpack. And every worry becomes a stone that they put in their backpack. Every disappointment becomes a stone, goes in the backpack. Every betrayal becomes a stone it puts in the backpack. Every unpaid bill becomes a stone I put in my backpack. Every sleepless night becomes a stone. At first, you're carrying the backpack around, but then you're dragging it because it's so heavy. And then eventually you forget what it feels like not to carry it. And one day you begin believing that you actually are the backpack, but you aren't. They aren't. They're the one just carrying the backpack. And maybe you need to hear that today. You're just carrying it. What you're carrying is not who you are. You are not your debt. You are not your diagnosis. You are not your disability. You are not your worries. You are not your grief. You are not your trauma. You are not your worst day. Not at all. You're a soul who's happy to carry burdens. And burdens can change. You know, the Bible's full of caves, full of deserts, full of storms, full of prisons, full of people who thought their story was over. It's a crazy good book. Joseph had a prison, David had a cave, Job had ashes, and well, Christ had a cross. And yet somehow God kept speaking to them, writing. That's the part we forget, that God kept going. And I don't know what chapter you're in your life right now. I don't know why you're carrying what you're carrying. I don't know why some roads are harder than others. I really don't. I don't have all the answers. But I do know this. The chapter you're in is not your whole book. And if life has taught me anything, it's that some of the darkest chapters become the turning points we never saw coming. So if you're tired, please rest. If you're hurting, please pray. If you're overwhelmed, reach out. If you're scared, just take the next small step anyway. You can do it. You don't have to solve your whole life today. You only have to take care of today. And please, before I leave, I'd like to ask you something. If this message speaks to your heart, leave me a comment. Write to me. Even if it's simple as, I'm still here. Not because everything is perfect. I'm not saying that. It's not because life is easy. It's because despite everything you've carried, you're still here. And that matters. My name is Rain, and this is All Souls Gathering, where every soul matters. Where your heart matters. Where no matter how dark this life can become, there's always room for hope. And if nobody has told you lately, I'm glad you're still here. The world is better with you in it. And the light inside you is stronger than you know. And we need your light. You're just as important as everybody else. Please listen to that. Your life is valued, and it's important that you're here. So if you actually do need help, reach out. It's okay. Love is always stronger.